So I've now had the iPhone 15 Pro for 3 months now. As a photographer and videographer, I was most excited for the new lenses that they've included, the USB-C port, and honestly, an upgrade in battery from my iPhone 13 mini. I've now shot a couple months worth of photos on this phone, I've shot a couple full YouTube videos on this phone, and there's a whole bunch of things that have gone really right with this phone, and a couple stumbles that I didn't even realize could happen with this phone. So let's get into it. I feel like one of the biggest changes year to year between all of the iPhones, and something that they spend the most amount of time on in the keynotes, is the camera system. And for myself as a photographer, this is also something that got me the most excited for the iPhone 15 Pro. Apple promised that we now have 7 focal lengths in our iPhone 15 Pros, and I made a video comparing all of those focal lengths and whether we actually have those or not. But the question is, how many of these do I actually still use a couple months later? Moving from the iPhone 13 mini, which has 2 physical lenses, to having 7 focal lengths, I find I do take more photos, and especially with the new camera to me, the longer lens. When I had the 13 mini, I chose to just walk closer to the subject I was shooting, and now I have the option to shoot telephoto images. That being said, I don't always use the 3x camera, the 80mm one. I actually find I use the 2x, the 50mm one, actually more than I thought I would. On the other end of the spectrum, I do use the ultra-wide camera quite a bit, actually probably the most. It is the widest lens that I think I own in general. What about the 1x, the 24, 28, and 35mm lenses? Well, they're there, but I find I stick with the 24mm the most. The extra 2mm on this lens coming from the iPhone 13 mini to the iPhone 15 Pro does sound small, but it is a quite larger field of view. If I'm using the 1x, I find that I'm using the 24mm the most, unless I'm shooting for a YouTube video or capturing something that I'm actually gonna look at again, unlike a receipt or just a random memory. I'm glad that those other 2 focal lengths are available, but perhaps I'm not using them because of the interface of the camera. They are hidden behind the 1x button, unlike just pressing 0.5, 1, 2, and so it's a little trickier to get to. I almost forgot to mention that the lenses on the 15 Pro don't seem to attract fingerprints as much as the past models have. I haven't heard anybody else talk about this yet, and maybe it's all in my head, or maybe my hands are just less oily than they used to be. But maybe that anti-reflective flaring, whatever the coating was that Apple promised that they put on these, actually helps repel fingerprints. A couple times now, I've been scrolling through my camera roll, and I'll find videos where the first frame of the videos are black. There doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason or specific situation why this is happening. It feels very random. It's a really easy fix. You just trim off the first frame or 2 of the video, and I do feel like this is more of a software issue than a hardware issue. So I assume it'll be fixed in upcoming software updates. However, I've had 2 friends now that have shot a video and it comes out super wonky, kind of like this. This is much worse. This video cannot be recovered, and the only connecting factor between these 2 people is that they both have iPhone 15 Pro Maxes. Probably in the software. Hope this gets fixed. If you've had any issues similar to this, I would love to hear it because I have a feeling I'm not the only one. Since having this phone, I've filmed entire YouTube videos just using the phone. When I'm editing these types of videos, I can tell they have different sharpness, depth of field, and color from the Sonys, but I think when they're on YouTube, not everybody is going to notice this. And I know this has given me the freedom to shoot more videos that I can put on YouTube. The native audio coming from my iPhone isn't bad, but I do wish it was improved a little bit more from my iPhone 13 mini. I have been connecting my Rode Wireless Go lavalier microphones to the phone, and this has allowed me to get better audio and to step away from the phone if needed. I had a difficult time finding the right USB-C to aux dongle and realized that I needed a TRRS compatible dongle to transfer audio signals from the lavaliers into the phone. Don't make this mistake. I had to go through like 4 different dongles to find the right one. I was really stoked about this action button, and now after having this phone for 3 months, I know when I use it and I know what I use it for. On the day-to-day, I do not use the action button that much. It's a little bit out of reach on this larger phone, and I find I'm pressing the up volume button more than I'm hitting the action button. I'm honestly not sure what I would program this to be on the day-to-day. However, when I'm traveling, this button comes in very handy. On my last trip, I programmed this button to open the app NomoCam, which is one of my favorite camera apps. Nomo lets you use all kinds of different filmy cameras, and I think it's great for capturing memories when you're on trips. I've made a few other videos that mention this if you want to find out more about it. I've also come across a shortcut called multi-button, and when you press the button, it will open an app of your choice. And if you wait a couple seconds and press it again, it will open a different app. So it's kind of like having 2 buttons in one. And I've been playing with this feature a little bit to see if this would suit my needs. For my next trip, I'm thinking of programming the action button to open the Blackmagic camera app. This app addresses and solves many of the issues I've had with the Apple Log on the iPhone. The first one is that I think the files are far too big using the native camera app. With the Blackmagic app, you can tinker in the settings and change the compression and the formats of these files to make them much easier to store and edit. This app also lets you shoot 4K 60 internally, whereas if you're using the native camera app, you need to plug in a hard drive. Even though Blackmagic has solved many of the issues I've had with the log footage, I still don't find myself to be using it that much. Then again, I haven't traveled a whole bunch since getting this phone, and that's often when I shoot the most on my phone, so time will tell how much I continue to use log moving forward. But so far, it's been very minimal. I knew one of the biggest changes from upgrading from the 13 mini to the 15 Pro was going to be the physical size of the phone. When I purchased the 13 mini, I purposely got something that would take up less room in my pocket or bag, would have a smaller screen so I'd be less inclined to use my phone as frequently, and it just feels really great in your hand. To me, this is the perfect size phone. After getting my 15 Pro, I was shocked at how quickly my mind and body adapted to this size of phone. I had completely forgot about the 13 mini size. Going back and holding the 13 mini now, the screen does feel very small, and it feels so much smaller than this phone. Other than the software features on the phone, one of the biggest differences I noticed is reaching the top of your screen on the 15 Pro versus the 13 mini. I do need to change my hand position to reach the top sometimes, or use my other hand, and reaching the action button isn't always the easiest. If Apple continued to make the miniature phones, I would choose the miniature phones over these larger ones, even if it meant losing a couple cameras or battery life. I'm probably one of the only people who is not extremely stoked out of my mind that the new iPhones have moved to USB-C. USB-C is great. I love that it unlocks so many new features that I can now use my phone for. However, I'm using the iPhone silicone case, and not all of the cables that I use fit into this case. I know Apple wants you to use the cable that they sent you in the box. I leave that one at home and charge with that at home. I use other ones on the day-to-day, and not all of these fit into the case. This isn't a make or break situation. This is just something I didn't even think of before I purchased the iPhone. Something I've most been looking forward to with this upgrade is the increase in battery capacity. My iPhone 13 mini would not last me through the day, much less till lunch. There was many days where I was charging it 2, sometimes 3, probably even occasionally 4 times a day, which is extremely annoying. Most days I do charge my iPhone 15 a little bit, but nowhere near as much as the mini. When I first purchased the iPhone 15, it would run hot pretty frequently, but most often when I was charging it, and especially wirelessly charging it. Beside my bed, I have a wireless Nomad charger, and you can put up to 3 items on it that can wirelessly charge. Since I got the iPhone, I don't think there's a night that my phone has charged to 100% on this thing. For the longest time, I thought it was the phone and overheating and it just being a new device. I'm pretty sure because it's an older Nomad product, it's not equipped for the newer technology that we have today. There was even a few nights where I had my phone on here all night and it would only charge to 30%. There used to be a way to update these charging pads, like they have an USB-C on the back, and they used to have a support section on their website. I recently checked, that webpage is gone, and they've actually removed this specific charger from their website, so I might be out of luck. Also, my AirPod Pros 2 won't charge on this, and for the longest time I thought it was the case. I'm pretty sure it's the charging pad, and this thing either needs an update or to be replaced soon. So when I first got the iPhone 15, I didn't immediately transfer everything from my 13 over because I wanted to get some test shots for my video that I was making. During that few day period while I was filming for that video, I would hold the 13 and the 15 together in my pocket, and I would continually get that notification like you're airdropping something, but instead the phones would just say connecting. So great, the phones are connected. I would tap and nothing would pop up. I don't really know what you're supposed to do when they're connected, but if you're somebody who has to carry around 2 phones for work, you're gonna have to turn this feature off because it was super annoying. Overall, I am quite happy with my upgrade from the 13 mini to my 15 Pro. I haven't missed my 13 mini as much as I thought I would be, and I've really appreciated the battery life on the 15 Pro. After a couple months now, I've got used to the USB-C port, and I've changed all of my accessories over to USB-C. With a titanium build on the 15s, these are much lighter than the past Pro phones, and I really do appreciate that more than I thought I would. All in all, super happy with my upgrade. My name's Davey, and I'm a photographer and videographer who appreciates systems, organization, and thoughtfulness. If you're interested in my initial thoughts of the iPhone 15 Pro, you can find that video right here, and we'll see you in the next one.